Hello and welcome to this Affinity Photo Stroke Designer tutorial looking at swatches and mainly aimed at beginners. Now this is going to be sort of an extra or a part 2 to one that I made quite some time ago now. November 2017 I uploaded this one, which is a beginner's guide to making your own swatch palette. So I will add a link to this so you can watch that, which covers the main topic of making your own swatches and what have you. I just want to add this bit extra because at the time I didn't know about this, and I did see this in an Affinity Designer tutorial, and I would imagine it's probably best used in Designer, but it is available in Photo, so I thought I would make a little add-on to aim this mainly at Affinity Photo users, but like I said, it works just as well in Designer because that is where I saw this tip. In fact, it was this course up here that I saw it in, the Affinity Designer Quick Start. It is a 2 hours 42 minutes long video made up of all little lessons, and it's well worth a watch for both Affinity Designer beginners and Affinity Photo beginners, because probably 80 to 90% of what you can do in Designer is also available in Photo. So a lot of the things that are in this course, although it's aimed at Designer, is relevant in Affinity Photo and possibly even to a large extent in Affinity Publisher Beta. So it is well worth a watch, even though it takes a long time, but you don't have to do it all in one hit, obviously. So, coming back to Affinity Photo, which I'm going to do this in, but like I said, it will all work in Affinity Designer. You've got your swatches panel up here, and I'm not going to sort of go over everything that I did in the first video. I just want to look at sort of some extra things that you can do. So, if you come to the little menu that's up here and click on that, we're going to add a new palette from this document. So I'm going to I could make it for the whole application, which means I could use it again and again in other documents, but this is just for this trial. I'm just going to add a document palette, and it will add that there and call it unnamed. So I'll just leave that unnamed for the moment, but first I want a sort of start color. So let's just assume you're working on a logo, and I'm going to use the Affinity Photo logo. So I'm just going to click on the eyedropper here and come up here and select one of the darker purple colors from the Affinity Photo logo, and then that color will be added into this circle here, and if I click on that, it will make that whole currently selected layer that color. So let me just reduce that down in size. It's a bit more manageable so we can use it later. So we have that box made up of that color, but it hasn't actually added it to the palette yet. It's just in the recently used. So if I come to this add current fill palette, and it will add that color into the palette. If you want, you could rename this. I believe you can anyway. Maybe you have to right click it. Yeah, rename fill. So I'm just going to call this original, just so I know that that is the I probably misspelt it, but so that will now come up with that name, original, so I know that that was the first color that I picked. So if you were making a logo and this was your main color, and you may want colors that complement it. So this is where this will make this a new palette with complementary colours. If you right click on your colour that you're going with and come down to create Colour Chord, you have a button here that says complementary, and it will add complementary colours. Now for some reason it adds a duplicate of the colour we started with and a complementary green colour, but that's not, I'm not too worried about that. So I will highlight the colour again, and then you got split complementary, so it will add a few extras colours that are sort of, I'm not 100% what they mean by split complementary, but so you've got these colours that are sort of complementary to the colour that I wanted as my main colour. So let me change the name of this, and rename category, should be here somewhere, rename palette, yeah, so I'm gonna call that complementary. So I have my complementary palette for this document, so I'm going to make a new document palette, and this time again I'm going to add the main color that I want, so add that to this new document, right click this and come down to Analogous, I don't know how you pronounce that, but, and if we have a look on the internet, Analogous, yeah, but whatever way, it says that there's a group of 3 colours that are next to each other on the colour wheel, so that is what that means. So it has added 3 colours that are close to my original on the colour wheel. So again I can come back to the original one, which I believe is, just make sure, that one there, and come to accented analogic. So it has added some more colours that are sort of, I'm guessing, complementary in a way to the original. So let me rename that palette. Let's see if I can remember how you spell this. No, I'm sure that's wrong. It's G-O-U-S. Oh, that would do. So I've now got, where is it? Oh yeah, I've got a complementary palette and this analogous palette which I can use on this particular project. So let's start another one. Add a document palette, and again add my main color, right click that and come down. I'm not 100% certain what these ones are, but you could check these out, but you can come down here to tints, so it will add various tints of that color to the palette. So let me rename this one, so we'll call that one Tints. So I'll make another one, document palette, again add our start color, right click that, come down to color chords, we've got shades, so you've got the various shades of this color, So rename this one, we call that one shades, and then the last one I'm going to look at is right, click that one, come down, and tones. So you've got various tones. So now, from just this one colour, I've got 5 different palettes. So we have a complementary, however you pronounce that, tints, shades, and tones. So there are these are sort of topics that I didn't know about when I made the first video, but I'm now this is an add-on. So if you're into designing sort of logos or whatever, I'm guessing this is more useful in Designer, but it is also available, like I say, in Affinity Photo. Now I believe you can make a global colour, which I do sort of roughly know how that works, but not enough for me to explain, especially in this video, how global colours work, so I won't go into that. But you could possibly then, if you like one of these palettes, you could possibly make it into a application palette, so it can be used again and again in all sorts of projects. So hopefully that is useful, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.